Okay, let's start. Oh, crap. Done. So this will be postponed again. So we have status, we have demos, I think Daniel wanted to show some. No, it was last week. He showed us the hand wire or something like that.
Sergio.
Oh, it's Sergio who had a demo?
On first day, wanted to demo something.
Yes, Sergio. Okay, thank you. Sergio, are you ready? Not right now, but you still want to do a demo? Si, señor, but he's muted. Okay, we'll see. Okay, status. Status. Lots of things. Look at that. Crazy in 1 week. Okay, because we shipped and everyone was free to push more things on dev and 110x. So what do we have here? We have one of 100 bug fixes on 110x. Here it is about the jQuery and TimeEntry files which were either missing or wrongly defining the resource files. Here it was missing 2 files in the project, but the files were there. Well, the files were there. Maybe not at deployment time. Yeah, they could be at deploy too, because they were there. Okay. This one, apparently bad naming. We saw that on Thursday. This one, Benedek, I think, was doing that. Orchard invalid ID now returns HTTP not found. Okay. So HTTP not found instead of
an exception.
An exception. Okay. This branch was merged onto dev. This is the new success enumeration notifier, and all the changes in the controllers showing success. I might have broken one of these. I will show you, but that's fine. Someone can fix it. It's not a bug. It's just not as good. I'll show you if I can find it. So. Oh, I didn't see that, otherwise I would have asked Simon to fix it. 3 commits, 1 commit, 1 revert, 1 commit. It should have been squashed. Then on Thursday we merged pull requests, so this one from JBuck. Who's JBuck? I don't know. This one is the fix we saw earlier about the jQuery files. This is a match for Simon. This is fixing a null ref, I think, possible if some things are rendered in the background. I think I explained that on Thursday, but I don't remember what the issue was. This is this is an issue on the client side when the media items are selected, when multiple media items are selected. Now it's handling the case. Jean-Thierry again. This one displaying the correct name and not making it camel friendly. Yep, the display name in the UI, so that's a simple one. This one is fixing an issue with checkboxes on the layouts. Chantier. This one is handling exceptions with the workflow activities and timer activities, so that if one activity fails, it doesn't fail the full workflow, or something like this. Yes, all the okay. Yes, so the idea is that if one action fails, it doesn't fail all the actions that have to be processed by the timer activity, and logging the issue. So try catch in the loop. This one might have a big impact on some systems, because apparently some deadlocks or some full connection pools could be created by this issue. The issue that Chantier found is that apparently the AliasHolderUpdater.Refresh task, which is actually trying to synchronize from multiple servers all the new or updated aliases that you can create on one node. So the idea being that if you have one instance, all the routes which are resolved, like with the slugs, which are resolved to actual content item display routes, are held in a collection called the alias map. Okay, and the routes the generic route for the alias will try to find a match and then forward the actual route to display the content item. If you create a new content item on one node, this map will be updated with the new route, but another node, another server, might not know about it. So this background task is supposed to refresh all the routes from the database regularly. And the issue is that this refresh service was called from two events or two background tasks. So he removed the one which was useless. I must have made this issue when I changed the way it was handling the multi-nodes like 3 years ago, and never caught that. So Chantier found the issue and removed the extraneous class. That should solve some issues if you have enabled the alias updater. And actually looking at that, it was not even tagged with an attribute for the feature, which means it was always running. If it was always running, then it's even better, an even better fix, because this way it won't run, because it's not necessary on a single node. That's weird. Okay, but this was creating deadlocks, so good fix, and it's merged on 1.10x. This is the merge. Then cool to see some squash commits, but the commit should have a different name than squash. So we can know what's happening. So here Chantier made some pull request to fix the required setting on different fields so that it actually works, like assigning to the value only if there is a default value and not all the time, or only if there is no actual value currently. Okay, and then checking also if it works with required. We'll have to talk about it later, and he did that for many fields, for all the fields, and at the same time he added some unit tests to ensure that it works and it's not unit tests, some functional tests to ensure there is no regression. So this one was to fix the feature, but the next ones, they should have, we'll see that later from yesterday, they will have new functional tests. Okay, so he's fixing every field one by one. Again, and this one, syncing deprecated modules with Orchard.sln. Oh, this is on 1.10x. Okay. Yeah. So some deprecated modules were not correctly marked as deprecated in the Azure solution. This one is from Benedek, I think, who is adding a new parameter if you want your ClickToBuild or your Orchard.proj to support a different solution than the default one. Like if you have your custom solution with the modules you want, then you can use the same Orchard.proj file to compile, but targeting a specific solution. Okay, it's an optional parameter / isodat /p and the solution name. Well, it's the third option. Target project solution. Fix. Okay. Then from Daniel, removed Azure Cloud Service support, meaning it deleted everything related to Azure Cloud Services, and it's a breaking change, so it will be shipped only in 1.11. It's on the dev branch right now. So we deleted the solution, all the implementations which were cloud service only, and updated the project files and everything. Good. Because the recommended solution is to use Azure Application Services instead of Azure Cloud Services. Any questions? Nope. No cloud merge. This one is a merge on what? Yes, this is a merge from Zoltan, who made the feature we talked about it last week, which is about blocking request on a tenant which is restarting. And it was waiting for someone to test, and Benedek tested it, so we're good. This is fixing a link on the Readme. This is fixing a compilation warning. This is fixing some other resources issues, which were both, there was no min used in the resource here, and in this case either, and in that case they were both using min and min, so this is min and not min. Removing a duplicated entry in the web config for JSON. This one is fixing some package references on the Azure.proj, and it's on 110x, and there was since Daniel removed the feature from dev, when I merged 110x to dev, there were some issues, but they were fixed. Then this one is from Benedek, trying to migrate all the NUnit libraries to NuGet. And why is it related to Azure?
Well, when I started doing this, it was actually because I saw that the Orchard.Azure.Test project is referencing the DLLs in a different location. Actually, according to the location when it was added to the Orchard.Azure.sln, which was removed. So it needed to be updated to be able to reference the packages according to Orchard.sln. And then I found some other cases with running the test, because now if we have the Orchard.Azure.Test project added to Orchard.sln, not Orchard.Azure.sln, so we need to have those tests passing as well. So I started working on that, and there's only one thing left to fix to be able to do that. And actually, it's a change I wanted to discuss, because this is on a separate branch, because some of these changes may not be necessary, or we may decide to leave them out. One of those changes is about using only the NuGet packages for NUnit, even the test running executable. So I also removed it from the lib folder. But there's one little issue with that we need to fix.
Okay. At the same time, You can remove all your changes about the Azure solution because it's gone.
Yes, that's actually on the 1.10x branch. So these changes are all according to the fact that the Orchard.Azure solution is removed. These changes are all based on that.
Okay, so we'll talk about it during triage?
Yeah, I think we can discuss it maybe on Thursday, but I will be offline in the next 2 days, so I'm not sure if I can fix that one last issue with the NUnit NuGet package. I try to do that, and then we can discuss it on Thursday.
Yeah, we have time. It's not urgent, I assume.
Yeah, well, partly because right now the tests are not passing.
I mean, right now?
Right now. Yeah.
Because of that?
Yeah, I think one of the issues is that, well, one of the tests is outdated, actually, and I think the NUnit executable is confused because the Orchard.Azure solution is using the DLL from the lib folder, but the other test projects are using the DLL from the NuGet package, but the executable is in the lib folder. So I think that causes an issue.
I think you can ignore Azure.
Yeah.
Merge and merge. Things we've talked about. Then I merged 1.10x to dev. Not to be too far away from all the fixes we do and to prevent any merge issues, merge conflicts. Then I merged Jean-Thierry's changes because he added the, you see, a new spec for test for the fields and the default values. You see, default values. Same thing for many fields, so I merged them again and again and again, different fields, and then Jasmin broke everything, and he's wondering why. He's wondering why. He didn't literally break everything. It's just that he's actively working on this one, actively testing, because Thierry Fleury made a nice pull request to refactor the content cloning and translation, and Jasmin is testing it like crazy, and then if I find it, it's good to go. If we fix the small bug in the Boolean field, okay. Where is that? Gray zone. Yes, so I think there is an issue with all fields not bound to cloning from Thierry. The default value of the field is set in editor. So method on the fields driver. If you create a content item without editing it, or if you add a field to a content type with existing content items, they won't take the default value until they are edited and saved. So triggered some neurons in, do you say neurons? Yes, in my brain, and there are issues. There are issues with the default fields. How is the default field supposed to work? Zoltan, Benedek?
This is like they explained. So indeed, it should take precedence, or should work if you modify the content item. I can't really imagine that it would be good to add the default for a field on a content type and then magically have all the items modified.
Yeah, but that's a default field. Default field
Default value.
Okay, so that's the issue with default field value, and this is what I say. It depends what we think of the default value. Like the first value that is shown to the user, but the user could delete it, or the value to assign when there is no value on save. So there are like many ways to think of the default values. So first case, when a content is modified. Okay, this is what you said. So when a content is modified or /created from the form, okay, the edit page, edit screen, okay. So let's say I define a default value for my city field or whatever. What do we expect? Do we expect see the default value already filled, B, have the field empty, okay, set when set only if there are no values, if there is no value when saved, okay. So I assume this is the scenario that you intended. I go in the editor, it's empty. If I don't type anything and I save, it appears.
Yes.
There are other choices though. When a content item is created, code from anywhere, which means code, UI, whatever, loading for existing items, for instance. This is more, for me, it's more representative of what a default value is. So this is the issue is what do we want to do with default values when they are set on the field. This supports every scenario. This only supports when it's edited and if I don't set any value. The issue he has now is that we don't know what to do on the cloning and we don't get the value because the item is cloned but it doesn't get the default value. So there are issues here. You see, not everyone will want their text box field to have a forced default value saved when an empty string is submitted by the form. The default value should be only proposed on that scenario, though if it comes from a background task, it should force default values. You see, that's the issue. We don't really know what default value should do. If it was a real default value, I think it should work from anywhere. What do people think about default values? Nobody thinks?
I think this is similar to what's the case with a lot of other such default things. The first thing that comes to my mind is the alias, the display route, display path. How is it called? So when you edit when you edit the pattern on the content type, do you want to have all the aliases regenerated for all the items of that content type, or do you want them to be set? I think there is some option for that.
I think that's a different one. If you don't provide an auto route for the content item, it will always be generated. But there's an option if you delete it after saving the item to enable to regenerate it. But that's when you save the content item, it already has a value for the route, and then you delete it and then save, and that's an option for what should happen then.
I think it's correctly handled in AutoRoute, and it's handled in the handler, not in the editor. So here the issue is that because we are on B, on purpose, the logic is only in the editor, and will only be executed if you edit the content item. And one of the issues is that there will be some different behavior if you create a content item from the UI or from code by whatever event like cloning or importing or whatever you do. And I think that's the issue. For the case of AutoRoute, because it's in the handler, it will always behave the same. So I don't know. I kind of think we should have it in the. I'm not questioning the default values feature. I'm questioning how we implemented it. I think there would be less issues if it was at the container level, at the content handler level. So that there is a default value set for the field. The content handler will know what to do with that on creating the item, on saving the item, and everything. So it will work in every context, even from editor. And it's not the editor's concern to set the value in the form, expecting the value to be saved. No, it's when we save the content item, we check if there is no value and there is a default value, we set it. Kind of like the database does. So when you save a record which has the default values, then if it's null, the database sets the value when it's saved.
And where does it get its default value from? Is that configured per content field, or does each part have to define what happens when?
Here we are talking about the content fields.
Fields, okay.
Values.
Right.
This is an issue with the content field default values. This is a setting that has been added in the content fields, in all content fields, default value. So when you have a text field and you define the default value and you create a new item, maybe you expect the new item to have the default value. What could be questionable would be then same thing. So creating from anywhere, uncreated, uninitialized. That could be some questions, like, do we want, when we say new content type and it will be uninitialized, well, it will be uninitialized, to have the value, or is this just uncreated? So when we try to save the content item, that we check if there is a value and then we assign a value.
Yeah, from a user's point of view, I think it would be more intuitive if you see the field pre-populated when you create a new content item. So you provide when you provide a default value for a text field and you create a new item containing that text field, then as a user, I would expect that value to be there, right there, and not after saving and leaving it empty.
I don't disagree. And you can still leave it empty if you want, because it doesn't mean default value doesn't mean it's required. You see? So the default value should not be something that we set when we save something, because we might want to save something empty, even if there is a default value. So
that's what I'm saying. So you should see it there populated. If you don't want it, you can backspace it and leave it empty.
And I think that's the issue we have today. The default value appears when there is no. So today's behavior, when you create a new content item, the form is empty, and then when you save it, it will assign the value. But maybe you want the saved value to be empty.
Exactly. So this is counterintuitive and not desired.
Zoltan.
The idea was here to do the same what Alias does from a user's perspective. So if the field is required and there is a default value and you leave the field empty, it will be...
Wait, but you have three conditions here. You mentioned required. I'm not talking about required right now. Because if you take as you said, the AutoRoute, today, if I have a pattern and it's empty. Oh, that's wrong. You're right. It's happening the other way around. So today, if I have a pattern and it's empty, it generates the value. So it won't be empty. But this is not what we want actually. So I understand your goal, and you succeeded. But I don't think it should be the same in the end.
I agree, it shouldn't, and even preferably the alias would behave the same, but that's technically not possible. And I think that's why it is implemented the way it is right now.
At the same time, when you say Sipco, it's not technically possible for a reason, because it's only based on tokens. But if the default value is based on tokens, which it is, then you can't set the value on the form when you open it because you don't have the values.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Why I'm saying it's technically not possible to do it the other way around that you're suggesting for content fields. Because you need the title value, for example, because it's based on tokens.
If you base it on, yeah. Or do we say,
a
default value is not tokenizable, there is a default value done. Because technically, a default value for a field should not be based on the content of other fields, right? It could be like, no, by default it's 0. If we create something, it will have the value 0, not empty, because we need a value, for instance. So it will be 0. It doesn't have to be from a title. This is why I'm saying maybe we don't care about, we don't have the same logic as the slug, the auto-route, because auto-route is mandatory and needs to be done based on the other properties. This is the goal of the auto-route. But for default value, I'm sure we could work without tokens.
Yeah, but even if you wanted to use tokens, why couldn't you? Because there's tokens that's not based on other properties of the current content item. Could be based on other system variables.
Yeah.
So, for example, the current username.
Yeah, why not? Doesn't hurt. It can be misleading because people will try to use token and say, "Oh, we need to be explicit about the fact that if you use token."
Maybe could we implement lazy tokens?
No, this is
tokens that evaluate after the content's been saved.
Don't use tokens. We should not use tokens. If we want to implement this with an initialized, then you can't use tokens, because otherwise every time you will load an object, I don't know, which doesn't have the value, we should not evaluate tokens. It's just if the value is not there, but yeah, still.
Are you concerned about performance issues?
Yes, it can be bad.
I think this it gets really complicated if you really want to show the user the default value and they just open the content item. So we could just leave it like it will be filled after the content item was at least created or saved.
Yeah. There are issues with that. Look at all the work that there are issues with leaving it like today. Look at what Chancha is doing and also TI-Floor is doing.
I'm not saying it should, the logic should remain in the editor methods of the drivers. Just that it shouldn't behave in a way that you will see the default value even before the content item was created.
Yeah, even this way.
Well, if we prohibit the use or don't suffer the use of tokens, then I think that it will be really not a very flexible feature.
It can be useful still, if not super flexible.
Well, yeah, but very concerning.
Because today, I'm like, I create a text field, I say default value is yellow. When I open the editor, I will see yellow and I can change it if I want. Done. And if I remove the value, it will be removed. There is no value. I removed it.
What if you didn't use the handlers but the drivers as salt and...
This is what we are doing today. And this way.
So that's a problem?
Today when you do new content item, then you don't have the default values. It will be empty.
Yeah, but if you updated the drivers to provide the default value from the driver method, then you could use tokens because it would not be assigned during initialization, so you don't have the performance issue.
Yeah, but you break the issue of today, which is when we don't go through the editor, like cloning, like importing, it doesn't take into account the default values, which is counterintuitive because
it could simply use the published or whatever is it called handler event. So even if you create it from code, it will be filled, but still not before the item is persisted.
And which is wrong, because if you do it on publish, then if you delete the value, it will put the value back.
No, it will only put the value back if the field is required.
But this is wrong, because the default value doesn't have to be if the value is required. That's the issue. We could make a matrix, but this is what part of the issue. This is why Jean-Thierry has been working on that. Required had some issues in your implementation. The issue being, for instance, that you could not even type a value because, So if let's do some matrix here. Required default value. Required is true or is false. Then default none, default foo. Required default none, default foo. Okay. First case, I enter the editor. Required is true. Okay. Where is false? Okay, first case, I enter the editor. There is no default value set in the setting for the text field. Okay. There is no required. So required is true, there is no default value. I open the editor. I expect to have editor empty and error message on save. Okay. When I create a new item, when I create with code, then you can't ensure the required. So required is you only can't ensure required. There is nothing to say about it. This is what we have today. If I require true and default foo, I expect when I open the editor to see the default foo, and I can't remove. Editor with foo, can't remove the value, just replace.
I wouldn't. Oh yeah, like that. Okay.
Okay. Required is false. Default non-empty. Editor empty. Issues. Okay. Require is false. Default foo. Editor opens with foo. Can delete the value. So
yeah,
I don't see.
Exactly. So I have a question regarding the tokens and performance issue. What if you isn't there a event in the loading cycle of a content item where you can inspect the stored value of the field, and if it's empty, you initialize it with the default value if there is any? Because uninitialize may be too soon because it's not yet loaded from the data store, but maybe
empty. But for a text field, what do you call empty?
Well, if you implement a content handler for text fields, then you know that text field. Yeah, you would have to define what is empty, and that will be null or empty, I presume.
And then what?
And then if it is empty and for that field there's a default value specified. Oh wait, because this default value is it defined on that's defined on the content type level, correct?
So the safe case here is not to support token for now. Okay, to make it work. If later we can make it work for tokens, then we can make it work for tokens. It won't be a breaking change. It will just, now it...
Yeah, and by safe you mean in terms of performance. We can do it from the uninitialized.
Yes.
Event. Yeah.
The value is the default, but it's...
If the field will be set, then there is not really a performance drawback because...
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
Mm-hmm. But the question is if that field will have that value will be set in the uninitialized event, or if it's null at that point, because maybe it still needs to load the value.
Maybe I'm wrong, and yeah, we could.
There is the unloaded event as well.
Yeah, there are all the events. We need to know if it's a new item, if it's from database. We have everything we need. It's crazy. Even the activated, like there is a new instance. Whatever it's coming from, it's a new instance. So even default could be set a new instance. So that, but we don't want to do that because it's too much churn. But yeah. We could do tokens, but I don't see many scenarios where it would be useful if we follow this thing, because the values will have to be already existing. So it can't be from another thing from the content item itself. It will probably have to be from, like Sipke said, the current user, for instance.
Will be a limited setup.
Which is very limited. So I'm like adding token support just for this limiting set of values. I'd rather code myself the handler for every customer who needs a default value than adding the tokens right now. So if tomorrow you want this field to have the site name as a default value, call me. I will write to the handler and give the class to you, and you will add it to your content type.
Or use a workflow.
So that's why I'm saying we could.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, if we want to use support tokens, then it should just work and not work, because then many people will probably complain that it's not working because they expect it to work because they can provide tokens.
So before adding a conclusion to that, I will have two open questions that we'll try to answer for Thursday, which is, what does WordPress do? And what does Drupal do? If they follow exactly what we said here and there is no tokenization, we'll do it without any question. The same thing. Oh, what the fuck? Okay? But yeah, today it's complex, and look at everything that Chantier had to do and to fix issues and to implement the correct behavior. This is at some point this morning I was like, fuck everything and let's remove the default values, because when I saw all the time it took people to work on that, and it's also blocking the clone issues, so I'm like, yeah. But if we can have this simple scenario, at least that there is no issue with that. And if it's a content handler instead of a driver, that solves the clone issue. So yeah, I want to see what they do, WordPress and Drupal, and then I will have to announce it to Chantier. Redo everything. Okay. Other comments? Sergio, Dimo? Sorry guys, I didn't read the comments here. Yeah, let me make you a presenter. I will read the comments in the meantime.
Hi. Can you hear
Hola,
me?
¿qué tal?
Muy buenas, ¿cómo estamos?
Muy bien.
Muy bien. Voy a ver si me estreno. I'm going to do my first demo. A bit nervous.
It's not your first demo.
Yeah, it is. One moment.
Oh, we had private demos on Skype a month ago. Maybe that's why.
Ah. Okay.
When you want.
Okay. Present desktop. Can you see? No. Present.
I can see your screen now.
Okay. Can you see? Everybody can see? Okay. Well, the feature in which I have been working is to add the possibility of modifying content items from a form. Okay, and well, here's a sample. Okay, this is the most simple example. Here you can add new item. This is the functionality we had, and well, the simplest example is that adding an extra parameter in the query string, you can edit the item do you want. Okay. Okay, and I can change it, submit it. It has changed it. Okay. I also have added navigation commands. So I have added elements that allow you to navigate through the content items, okay, typical ones, also for new or to delete. Okay. Okay. And those navigation elements are like commands, and in fact, if you take a look to this link, I'm using in the menu item, I'm using a command for navigating. Navigation and edition of content items is all based on forms. I mean, permissions are established if you want to the level of form. I mean, you can establish permissions for the entire site, at type level, and at content item level, and also at form level. Okay. And for example, the command I'm using here, this is an action in the dynamic forms controller, where you have to establish the content item that has a layout content part, the form name which you want to apply the command, and the command. In this case, move to last content item. This is important because with this, our permissions are not related to content items like core permissions of Orchard do, are related to the form we are using. Okay. And well, an extra demo is to show a form with different forms at the same time. And well, this query string use a parameter that is composed by the name of the form. This is the name of the form, and the postfix form edit, and the content item, the ID of the content item we are going to edit. Well, here, for example, I can move through one form, and this form that access the same content items can see other content item. And that's it. Well, I'm going to show you the admin part. Okay. Any question?
Yeah, I have a question. This looks pretty cool. But this is tied to creating content items, correct? This doesn't work with regular form submissions that are not bound to content items?
No. In fact, working on that, what I think is that future works can work with queries or things like that, at least to navigate through data with query, but at the moment only that. Okay, edited form. This one is okay. Oh no, the other. Yeah. Okay, first thing to notice is because I wanted to make a pull request to 1.10 release, but I'm late, so I tried to don't change many things. And for example, this checkbox is the original create content. Internally is the same, because I don't want to break all forms, and it allows you to bind the form to content item as before, but it gives you access to all the operations: create, edit, and delete. So how you control what can do the user? Through permissions. You can use permissions to set that. I'm going to take a look to permissions. That maybe is not the right way. Maybe we have to have there a checkbox for each operation. Okay. Okay, now I have for page content type, I have permissions for the type and for the content items, in order to see all the possibilities. Okay, for the content type, I have any form in this type and page, and the different permissions I have is modify data owned by others and own data. The same for delete. And then for each content item, I have the same. In this case, how this page doesn't have any form, it doesn't show any other option. But for example, this page that has a lot of forms has a lot of options, because you can limit the access for each one of them. Okay. And that's it. Okay. One moment. Well, related with implementation, I don't know if you want I show you anything.
No, I have questions. So I will.
Well, I have some questions. Yeah.
I have pasted the link for the issue.
Yeah.
So let me share my screen.
Okay.
Don't touch anything. You have nothing to do. I opened it. So use dynamic forms for to edit content on the front end. Okay. That was an issue which was open in December. I think I might have duplicated it at some point. Not sure if it's over today. Usage will be to edit a profile for a user. It needs so many grammatical issues here. Edit right management, custom URL to find the content item, and the part to say which form is used to edit per type. So I don't think you implemented it this way.
No.
And I think it's an issue. Let me explain you the idea here. So the example I was giving was edit a profile for a user. So as a user, I go to the website and I can edit my profile, but the profile is always specific to every application. So people used to use my very old profile module on the gallery, which you should not use because it's using content editors on the front end, which are designed to be working on the back end, so it never works. And this is why I opened the issue to say, let's use Sipco's module to edit it on the front end, because the dynamic form is created to edit it on the front end. So what I was expecting is, let's say I want to do a profile, then I will use the part that you will have created, like form editable or dynamic form editable, and I put the form, this part on the user content item. Then I can select which form to use to edit the content item. And the form is a content item. So you will go in the forms module, you create a form as you want, with all the fields you want. And then in the part, you will point to this form, so that when you go to the specific controller that you create, like /form editor /edit user, whatever, or edit content item 1, it will pick up the correct form and also check for permissions. So we'll let you view the form or not view the form, and then submit things or create new items, whatever the form lets you create. So it's like the content editor updater on the admin, but on the front end using dynamic form, so that you can define custom forms for that, and then bind the form to the content item, like I think is already implemented. So this was I think the idea I had to do that, and every type could have its custom form. So you could even edit or create new blog posts from the front end, and yeah. I don't know, Sipco, what you can already do with that, with the...
Yeah, so that's what you just described. That's not implemented, but the binding works already. So what's missing would be that bindable, form bindable part, and then the ability to select which form to use.
There is a part and there is a controller, because you need then to target that you want to edit or create this content item on the front end. So it will find the form. It's not a URL for the form itself. It's an URL for the content item, which will display the form that it knows about. You could even reuse the form for many content items if you want, content types.
Maybe I lost, but because the binding, where you define the binding with this form, which fields are with which fields of the content item?
So the fields bound with the parts and fields on the content item, that will be done using the form field bindings. That's already there. But then the association between the content type and the form to use to edit items of that content type, that will be some new part that Sebastian just described.
Yeah, but when as Sergio is explaining it, I'm like, yeah, maybe it's actually on the form itself. Maybe you can create a form and specify, because if you already have the binding to a content type, can you show us that? How do you define a binding from a form to content type? I will stop presenting. Feel free to share. I won't share anymore. Very important feature, and it has to be done right. We can't.
Well, I don't know how to
share.
Yeah, I lost the bottom. I don't know.
You are
hide the stage. Here's it. Okay.
Yeah, because if we don't have a controller, there can be only one route, the route being the forms route. But if you want to use the same form for multiple content items, then you are stuck, because you just have one route. You need an optional a variable route, so it needs to be a specific rule, like a specific controller.
But you mean you have one form for different content items of the same type? Or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And what's the problem with my implementation? Because when you navigate, you can navigate to the content you want with the ID.
Show me. I want a form to edit the username of the current user.
Current user. Okay. My strategy will be to set.
Because you need a route which says /mycustomform/user1.
Yeah, I need that. I need a form. Yeah.
You need a controller.
Okay.
You see? And you want to edit user 2. You need the same controller, which will take the / content item ID, whatever content item ID is, and whatever form is, to bind them together.
Okay, but if, for example, I can set the permissions in order you only can see forms you own,
Sure.
content items you own. Yeah.
It's not about showing the forms. It's about it's about discovering forms. It's about from a route. Show me the correct form for the current content item. The binding is done in the form, right? Because the form just targets one content type. But the controller needs the two information. What form and what type of form, or what form a content item ID, and what content item ID you want to bind to this form. And then this controller only, this new controller checks the permissions. And the dynamic form module doesn't have to care about it. It's not changing dynamic form module, it's a new module which is front-end editing using dynamic forms.
Well, okay, I don't know. One moment.
But I can explain you and show you some classes that we need to implement offline, that's fine. But this is how it should be done, because otherwise it won't be flexible enough to do what, yeah.
Okay. One moment. This is what you asked to me, so this is when I render the content item. When I edit the content item.
You see, you add the logic in the form element driver. I think this is wrong. I think the dynamic form module should not be touched. It should be a different module which uses dynamic forms and what it does today.
Yeah.
I don't say that everything can be done today, and maybe there will need some extensibility points in dynamic forms.
Some minor points, yeah, but you shouldn't have to change a lot.
You see here we are trying to add permissions to the dynamic form to edit content. Yeah, it's risky.
Okay. What elements?
Yeah, I can be more detailed than what I open on the issue, and it should be not much work than what you did, and just move the code that you did and the same logic but somewhere else doing differently.
Maybe it could be a feature of the same module, so we don't need another module.
It could be exactly in the same module, but as a different set of classes and features. You should not have to change the form element driver at all, or the form controller. No, there is another controller which is, or maybe another route in the same controller that does that. If it's a different feature, it's even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is what you were asking to me. I have previously I see that when there is a posted values, you use a named value collection to put values in the form. So when we are editing a content item, I get values from content item. This is the trick. And what I do is one moment. Transformation control. For example, I added here this is a binding for taxonomies, and here I declare now two properties, the getter and the setter. Here, one moment.
So in the current bindings, does it support get and set?
Yes, that's it.
Sipke, do you support get and set for the bindings?
I think it's only setting. I think.
Then it will need also getting.
Yes.
To be added.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this needs to be done, right, Sergio?
Okay. And in this line also, I thought that maybe we need something similar to what we use in XML, two-way binding or one-way, because sometimes you want the user can see a data, but you don't want he modify. I don't know, but this future work, I don't know.
Yeah. So this will have to maybe to be changed, yes, in dynamic forms directly to support this scenario, right?
Yeah.
But the rest should be another feature and different set of things. So yes, there are definitely things that you did that will have to be done, but there are some things that have to be done differently.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it offline. You just ping me on Skype, you know.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Because I need this for a work we are working on just now. So if you have some changes to command me, I'm open to do it. Okay. Because I prefer to work in the line Orchard is going to go in the future.
Yes, because we want this feature. This is another thing, and this will be very useful. But you know, we only take things if it's done right and according to what we think is done right.
Okay. Perfect.
Good. Thanks, Sergio.
Okay.
Thanks, Sipko.
See you.
Other questions? I have one more comment. Something I didn't talk about. So currently 1.10 is kind of broken. There are many things you can't do, like even editing a date time is broken because it's missing file. So my goal is to ship a 1.10.1 very, very soon, and to fix the maximum of bugs which are already assigned on 1.10.1. There are many. There are many bugs assigned on 1.10.1. And if they are assigned on 1.10.1, it means they need to be fixed for 1.10.1. We can postpone them, but some of them are very important. This one on page is broken. I see the Sipko because it might be related to the homepage service. This one is not very important, I think. Yeah, so we need to check one by one, but we have lots of bugs here.
So will you tag the ones that are required?
Yes, I might do. Yeah, we'll move them away to 1.10x, and if they are 1.10.1, they should be fixed. Yeah. But if I can see some that we don't need, yeah, like this one, maybe there is an edge issue, I will assign it to 1.10x with a higher priority.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So, but we need to ship a 1.10.1 soon. So feel free to work on these. They're usually not very hard to fix, but they are important in terms of usability.
Okay.
Good. Questions? Oh, and this one. Oh, crap. Okay, we can talk about it on Thursday. Okay, thanks everyone. Talk to you on Thursday.
See you on Thursday, guys.
Talk to you tomorrow, Sergio.
Later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you.